Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. Today we are waking up with watches and everything is for sale. SKUs and prices in the description below. Reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details. So we're leading off with a model that came out in 2015, made in 200 pieces, 40 millimeters in steel, the Grand Seiko High Beat GMT. This is the SBGJ015, celebrating at the time 55 years of the Grand Seiko brand. It includes subtle monogrammed lions on the dial in a count of 50. This was an Asia Pacific limited edition in the much-loved 44GS case shape, and I apologize for the fingerprints, but it is the nature of the beast being me. The watch is 100 meters water-resistant, extravagantly hand-finished, the Zaratsu case polish, taking 3 years to fully master, a manual process of holding the surface to be mirror polished against a spinning tin wheel. It is one of the signatures of the brand. On the dial, we have dial furniture, logo, date frame, hands, and indices, all cut and polished on diamond-tipped micrometric milling tools by artisans whose primary gig is making these parts all day long. They are also hand-placed and hand-caulked. Full bracelet, you can see, somewhere between a sports watch and a dress watch. Again, automatic winding steel and 100 meters water resistant, but also a watch that you could wear formally with a dress attire. No issues there. My wrist, as always, is 16 centimeters in circumference. We have a high beat GMT, so 2 time zones, one in 24-hour format and one in a 12-hour format. And 55 hours of automatic winding power reserve via this movement you see on the reverse side, adjusted in 6 positions, not the chronometer 5. Chronometers -4 +6 per 24 hours when static tested. This movement -3 +5, advantage Grand Seiko. So 36,000 vibrations per hour like an El Primero. You can see that the movement to the seconds hand is smoother than a conventional mechanical watch as a result. And again, 55 hours with a 5 hertz beat rate is quite good. It has a double step cadence. When you put it against the ear, it beats tangibly faster. From the best outside of the West, this is the Japanese-made Grand Seiko SBGJ Asia Pacific Limited Edition. This is the SBGJ15. Okay, so back to the other side of the Atlantic. This is kind of like a tour of our Altaic languages, because now we have native Finnish watchmaker Torsti Laine, who today practices out of Laloque, Switzerland. This is the Lina G3, launched in 2021, the follow-up to the Gelidus collection, meaning icy in Latin, that helped to make Line's name as an independent watchmaker. So what you're looking at is a combination of 2 different guilloche cuts on the dial. We have a vague down at the bottom, or a wave pattern, and then a quai de poisson, or the scale of a fish. There's a granular finish underneath these lovely blued Breguet-style Arabic numerals, lancette hands in blue, steel case you can see with a beautiful polished recess and profile that runs end to end. You have Line's logo on the crown, and 40.5 millimeters in steel. It's a good versatile size. It's a large watch, but not an oversized watch, and you can see how it wears, particularly thin, easy to fit underneath the dress cuff. Unitas-based movement, yes, but the parts are made by Laine. He's only using the Unitas train layout. So you can see that there's spectacular solarization on the crown wheel, double solarization on the ratchet wheel. You can see that the ratchet wheel click, as well as all the screws, black polished. We have this design that is considered to be the signature. That's what Torsti Laine calls it, with a combination of mirrored bevels that are truly broad, rounded, and finished by hand. The same is true of the deep recessed wells around the jewel sinks and the screws. And then we have this satin channel that runs around the edge of the bridge. You can also see it down the center. Taking a look at the bridges he's finished for the escape wheel and the balance, they are made of steel. You can see they're satinated on their tops, and the beveling on their side, absolutely breathtaking. Also look at the bridge underneath for the anchor. You can see that it has solarization or snailing very similar to the ratchet and crown wheels. 18,000 vibrations per hour, so a nice slow pocket watch-like beat. A big movement to fill the case back, 50 hours of power reserve. A lovely watch from one of the up-and-coming independents in the business, and a point of entry to independent watchmaking that will not break the bank. Okay. If you do want to break the bank with independent watchmaking, but still at a fair price, here we have a 2021 model year limited edition of 50 pieces from H. Moser and C. of Schaffhausen, Switzerland. This is the Pioneer Tourbillon Mega Cool. Mega Cool because it has this icy teal smoked dial, and few may mean smoked. It's a signature of Moser dials, and they're so confident in their design language that they now use an almost invisible clear varnish on the dial for their name. They don't use Swiss made on the dial because they feel that's a lesser standard. That's 60% Swiss content and value, whereas Moser is always 95 to 100%. 42.8 millimeters in diameter, about 51.5 lug to lug. The watch has a dramatically domed bubble-like sapphire. The tourbillon, the best finished part of the watch by far, is actually a flying tourbillon. No upper bridge to block your view. 3 Hz beat rated as a 1-minute tourbillon, so it doubles as the seconds hand. 2 symmetrical flat hairsprings pinned 180 degrees out of phase on this free sprung balance. So in any position, each one will, by an equal and opposite margin, counteract the deviation of the other. When one wants to run slow, the other by an equal and opposite margin instantly causes the regulator to run fast, and so they counteract each other, accomplishing Breguet's original intent of the tourbillon, which was to create a more accurate watch. The bracelet is what sets this apart. Most of the 50 Mega Cools shipped on the strap, so to get this full and fully sizable factory bracelet is a big deal. Deployant clasp, about 1 centimeter of incremental adjustment built in. Manufacturer caliber HMC 804 bidirectional winding, magic lever style system with ceramic bearings. 72-hour power reserve. You can see Moser's signature double-crested Côte de Genève, a golden chaton cup for the barrel arbor, as it would have been in the pocket watch era of Moser. You can see that the underside of the flying tourbillon uses a hybrid ceramic ball bearing system for stability and low power drain. We have a solarized cap to the ball bearing, and then we have beveled edges, which are primarily mechanical in finish, but handsome and neat in aesthetic. A big watch, but not a huge watch. 120 meters water resistant. It is a true sports watch. There's no doubt about that. That's my wrist again, 16 centimeters. This fits. I'd say down to 15 centimeters you could wear this watch. No shortage of lume. They use Globalite ceramic-based lume on this watch. Now we're talking about something that came out in the turbulent year of 2020. Straight into the fire came the Breitling Endurance Pro. Now this is a quartz chronometer chronograph made of Breitling, which is a composite that includes resin and then some combination of one or more of nylon, fiberglass, or carbon fibers. No one knows exactly, though Breitling will say that the material is Swiss made, it's not imported, but it is very corrosion resistant, and the watch is toy-like, made entirely of rubber, Breitling, and sapphire. It is feathery. It's a 44 millimeter diameter, so it's big, but it's only 12.8 millimeters thick, 52.6 from lug to lug. You can see on this professional style strap, this is Cobra yellow, Breitling tells us. An easy watch to wear, though large, it's an instrument style watch, so visibility is key. The size of it is actually practical, even on a wrist like mine, which is borderline for it. I'd wear it happily, so I'd say wear it on a wrist my size or larger. Quartz chronometer, so it is accurate to, per the quartz chronometer standard, no worse than 25 seconds a year, but Breitling Super Quartz goes beyond that, accurate to 10 to 15 seconds a year. Note that the foudroyant just stopped. After a while, when the chronograph is running, that will actually stop to save the battery, but when you stop the chrono, it knows how many tenths of seconds have elapsed. The microprocessor continues to track it, even though it's not displayed. Resetting it is a lot of fun. We have a compass rose bezel, which can be used to mark your heading to, your heading from, or even calculate the position of north and south based on the location of the sun. Pulsometric scale on the dial, 100 meter water resistance, thermocompensated super quartz. So you've got that accuracy I mentioned, but also in the case of extreme temperatures, it will not start to deviate. Now we do have a hacking seconds function. We do have a quick set date. By the way, that is just a calibration system that you saw that is used for setting the individual registers. If, for whatever reason, they don't reset perfectly to 12, you can use this crown to select which of the registers you want to correct, and then you can use this crown to make the corrections. In case it doesn't reset perfectly to 0, you have the ability to individually coax each one of the indications, and that's how that works. On the reverse side, more bright light. What's inside? I believe it's an ETA G10-212, or a very upscale version of it that's chronometer certified and super quartz and thermocompensated, but it is a cousin of what you'll find in a Moonswatch. Okay, moving on. Breitling for the old guard, and by that I mean the old guard, the Breitling family era. This one is a 2021 launch, the Breitling Premier B25 Datora. Datora, a name from the 1940s, which at Breitling described a triple calendar chronograph with a moon phase. Now when this came out, everyone said, Patek Philippe 5270p, anyone? Yes. But this has a few things that the 5270p doesn't have. A steel sports watch with lume automatic winding and 100 meters of water resistance. It beats the Patek on every single one of those counts. It has Breitling's premier case shape with a plexiglass-like bubble sapphire. You can see that it features a quick set system. Let me just make sure we're not in the date change danger zone there. Okay, we were. Hacking seconds, you got a double quick set, one for the moon phase, one for the calendar, which also drives the month. Automatic winding, 48-hour power reserve, column wheel with an oscillating pinion clutch. This is a Concepto C2000, which is a Concepto version of the Valjoux 7750 converted to run with a column wheel for a better feel and sound, but it uses the 7750's oscillating pinion clutch design. You can just barely see the end of the clutch lever and the wire spring right there. It is a chronometer certified, so accurate and tough both. We'll throw this 42 millimeter steel watch on my wrist. I actually think this is a pretty big watch because it's almost 50 millimeters from lug to lug. You want a sizable wrist. I think your wrist should probably be my size or larger to wear this well, but it looks the business, and with steel, it's a rare dress watch that combines elegance with durability. Here's something that's kind of different. We have a Corum Golden Bridge, and it is in the tonneau case that debuted for the company's 55th anniversary back in 2005. Pardon me, that was the 50th anniversary of Corum. And so this watch right here is 32 millimeters wide, 50 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, and about 10.6 millimeters thick. Now it is a monoblock case, so everything loads through the back here. And so you have no seam between the bezel and the case flank, which makes for a very clean look. A lot of people ask, and it's a legitimate question, which is the top? Well, technically this is the top. So you're supposed to wear it like this, but depending on how you set it, I believe you could wear it either way, as the case is symmetrical and so is the movement. There are no numerals or indices on the dial. The original Golden Bridge was conceived by Vincent Calabrese, and it was actually turned down by a number of watch brands in the late 70s because they were moving away from mechanical. Corum, an art house known for design out of La Chaux-de-Fonds, was willing to take on the design, and so a baguette movement made of solid gold became one of the foundational watches for the brand's catalog, while bringing on board Vincent Calabrese's know-how, a very cool connection since this is tied to both independent watchmaking and a founder of the AHCI, the Cool Kids Club of Independent Watchmakers. You will note that today the company uses a Vaucher manufacturer as an advisor on movement design, which is why we have both a free-sprung balance and a Vaucher star on this otherwise archaic baguette manual wind caliber. So it's a very modern architecture, and you can see Vaucher's star right there, but it is all 18-karat gold and hand-finished with volutes, chiseling, and mirrored bevels. There's satination on the side, and through the case flanks you can see the different levels of the movement. Barrel and keyless works here, drivetrain, escapement and balance, and you can easily see the multiplication system that reduces the torque but increases the speed of the energy transfer. So barrel, third wheel, or, I will say barrel, great wheel, third wheel, fourth wheel, escape wheel. It's not really a center wheel since it's not in the center, but it is an 18K solid gold movement, manual wind with a 40-hour power reserve, and it looks really good on the wrist. A very different kind of watch. Originally in a round case, the tonneau arrived for the 50th anniversary of Corum, which was in 2005. Corum, founded in 1955 by René Bonvard, has always been known as an art house. The feather, the Rolls Royce, the coin watch, the toboggan, the trapeze, the bubble, but the golden bridge, the true high horology standard bearer for the brand, always existing as one of the pillars of the company alongside the long-running Admiral's Cup and laterally the bubble. A very neat watch and a very rare sight. Now we have one from Max. From Max Buser and Friends. Here we have the Legacy Machine LM101. This is a watch that came out in 2014, 40 millimeters, 33 pieces in platinum. It is the most wearable Legacy Machine. The Legacy Machine was a thought experiment. What if an MB&F watch had been designed as a wristwatch in the late 19th century, in the steampunk era, the Jules Verne era of science fiction? Well, it probably would have looked something like this. And because it's acknowledged that pocket watches were dominant at the time, the watch is dominated by a large round case and lugs that are visually separate from the case profile. You can see just how much of the height of the watch is the sapphire. It's almost half the watch. There is a roller table at the bottom of an extended balance staff, and then a balance wheel that is 14 millimeters in diameter, towering over the dial on a balance bridge of polished steel, free-sprung, which is a modern setup. And you can see it as a variable inertia balance with balance screws to help change the timing. An overcoil hairspring, it beats away at a nostalgic 18,000 vibrations per hour. 2 lacquered subdials, one for the power reserve, which is 45 hours when fully wound, the other for the time. There's a separate bridge for the escapement with snailing and beveling. And then you can see that there's a frosted finish to the base of the balance bridge. And then there's a deep grooved snailing across the blue dial. It is platinum, it is weighty. You can see the off-centered crown with MB&F's Battle Axe logo. Turn it all over, and you can see Voutilainen's contribution here. He had input on both the finishing standards and the architecture, and he wanted something very much like a pocket watch. So we got a large, slow-beating balance, albeit on the other side, but a very traditional center wheel architecture. So we've got the crown wheel, we've got the ratchet wheel atop the barrel, then we have a series of wheels dominated by a center profile, but you can see we got the center wheel, third wheel, fourth wheel, a fifth wheel, and then we've got the escape wheel. So it's a little bit of an unconventional train. Voutilainen wanted that large center wheel. He wanted individual freestanding bridges. He also dictated things like the tapering of the bridges. You can see how this bridge starts relatively broad and then tapers as it reverses its direction or reverses its curve. We have incredibly broad hand-finished bevels. You can see that where they are present, the inward angles are nicely defined and quite sharp. We have black polished screw heads, solarization on crown wheel and ratchet wheel. We have little golden chaton cups reminding us of 19th century watchmaking, engine turning or perlage on the base plate. And if you look very carefully, you can see this is probably the most exquisite detail here. Hard to showcase, but the wheels of the train are internally beveled, which is an incredibly fine operation that is skipped even on many Geneva hallmark movements. You can also see there are places, such as the side, where the bevels come to a point. That's also very difficult to do. It's not a large watch, 40 millimeters, the smallest ever Legacy machine. So if you've got a small wrist and you want to wear one of these, this really is the one to wear. Comfortable, flat, flush, and not too broad. It's a lot of fun. This is a watch that brings together the best of Max and his friend, Kari Voutilainen, as well as their cast of seemingly thousands who contribute everything from the design to the pin buckle to the strap itself. And the strap, by the way, having a rubber underlay that is nice and supple and will preserve the strap long term. So what could possibly upstage that? Because I always try to save my dynamite for the last watch, and I believe that it is this. This is an incredible limited edition of 15 pieces made by Laurent Ferrier for Hodinkee. And they made some changes. First of all, grade 5 titanium, 41 millimeters in diameter. It is the Laurent Ferrier Traveler for Hodinkee. But you know that the standard Traveler has small seconds and a date. Both went away to clean up the dial. Now outboard, we have a satin finished slate dial, but then we have this white gold inlay to create the sectors, and we have a Grand Faux blue enamel center. In 24-hour format, we have the second time zone over at 9 o'clock. We have the characteristic Ferrier unbranded domed onion-style crown, white gold spear or assegai-style hands. We have this little pusher corrector system for the travel time function, so you can move the local hour easily. And these little fingernail notches are a throwback to the way Patek Philippe travel time watches were made in the middle of the 20th century. That's what it's for. It is for your fingernail. Now, the watch is seamless and beautiful. They no longer use the galet nomenclature, but this still looks like a beautiful, weathered, stream polished and smoothed pebble. Taking a look at the back, the movement has been changed from standard. A few things are done differently. Different guilloche pattern on the rotor, and then a galvanic pattern. It's actually ruthenium galvanic anthracite with a vertical satination, much like a vintage pocket watch, rather than the Côte de Genève you'll find on the standard watch. Automatic winding with a 72-hour power reserve, double direct impulse, natural style escapement. There is no Swiss lever. This improves precision, it reduces maintenance requirements, and allows this watch to achieve 72 hours of reserve on a single relatively small barrel. 6-position adjustment, one more than a standard chronometer, one of the quietest winding systems you'll ever encounter. In my opinion, it is the quietest. You can see that there's a pawl-based system, a ratchet with micro-tooth profiling, and then a jeweled staff, so you don't feel it, you don't hear it. The entire bridge has been black polished in steel on its top, and you can see mirror beveled edges. The half bridge for the balance has been fully polished, skeletonized, and then interior beveled with 1, 2, 3, 4 interior angles. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bridges themselves, and you could see how broad those bevels are. This is among the finest in the industry. So Laurent Ferrier isn't a tablisseur. It does specify the parameters of its parts and then collect them from the best suppliers before assembling, finishing, and regulating them in-house, which is fine because for most of its first quarter millennium, that's exactly what Vacheron did, and it was no less holy trinity for it. Judge the parts by their quality, and it is undeniable. The parts largely engineered by La Fabrique du Temple Louis Vuitton, which is the high-end watchmaking arm of Louis Vuitton, and that's based in Geneva. You can see we have a free-sprung architecture, 6-position adjustment, one more than a standard chronometer. There is an overcoil hairspring for concentric breathing. This is an amazing watch of extraordinary beauty. I've got my differences with the way Hodinkee covers watches and its attitudes towards the community, and that's just a difference of opinion. But we actually agree considerably on aesthetics. I find that almost every Hodinkee edition is better than the base watch on which it is foundationally derived. This is a really impressive watch, and the design changes made by Hodinkee make it more desirable than a standard traveler, in my opinion. If you love this watch, reach out to us, Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.